Conrad was born in San Antonio, New Mexico, the second of 8 children. Before he was 18, Conrad worked as a trader, a clerk, a bellboy, and a pianist. By the age of 25, he had worked in politics and in banking. In 1919, following the death of his father, Conrad left the army and went to Texas. He had intended to take advantage of the oil boom by buying a small bank. Instead, he found bank prices prohibitive and hotels so overbooked that he couldn't even find a place to sleep. When one owner in Cisco, Texas complained that he would like to sell his property in order to take advantage of the oil boom, Conrad struck a deal. Conrad pulled together an investment group and the funds were transferred within a week. The Mobley in Cisco, Texas became Conrad's first hotel. The hotel was booked solid, and Conrad and his partner, L.M. Drown, rented their own beds and slept in chairs in the office. They also converted much of the hotel's public space into additional guest quarters. With the Mobley running smoothly, Conrad bought 2 more properties in Texas in 1920, the Melba in Fort Worth and the Waldorf in Dallas, named after the prized New York hotel. In 1925, Conrad built his first hotel to carry his name in Dallas. With expansions well underway, Conrad consolidated his properties into a corporation in 1929, the same year the stock market crashed. The El Paso Hotel was completed in November 1930 and opened with fanfare. A year later, Conrad owned 8 hotels and was more than $500,000 in debt when a young bellboy slipped him $300, his entire life savings, so that Conrad could feed himself and his family. In 1931, the Moody family of Galveston, Texas, from whom Conrad borrowed, took possession of his hotels when he defaulted on a $300,000 loan. The Moodys then hired Conrad to manage their own hotels and his, known as the National Hotel Company. 9 months later, in 1932, Conrad and the Moodys decided to part. The separation, however, was in no way peaceful. The Moody family and Conrad sued and countersued each other regarding the terms of their agreement for separation, which Conrad claimed allotted him 1/3 of the hotels and 1/3 of the stock if the arrangement failed to prove satisfactorily. In 1933, while Conrad continued to battle the Moodys in court, the Moodys defaulted on a loan for the El Paso Hotel, and Conrad managed to raise the necessary $30,000 to buy back that hotel. In 1934, Conrad settled with the Moodys, who lent him $95,000 and returned the Lubbock, Dallas, and Plainview hotels to him. According to Conrad, while the Depression-era hotel owners saved less than 1 out of 5 hotels that they owned, Conrad emerged with 5 of his 8 hotels and was debt-free by the summer of 1937. That is the beginning of the global billion-dollar Hilton fortune. I've already beat Warren Buffett in the past 12 years, and I think that we're going to do much better than Conrad Hilton because we were aware and prepared for this collapse. Now back to how to best profit off this paradigm shift. A better plan, I feel, is not to sell your silver to buy income-producing properties. Let me remind you that these properties are going to be awesome investments, and they will have very little competition and extremely low price-to-earnings ratios due to the lack of credit. A better strategy is to borrow against your silver and acquire the income-producing properties. This surefire, tax-free strategy will be a win-win for us all. Conrad bought that hotel in 1934 at 1 times earnings, meaning that $30,000 loan he took out to buy that hotel outright was paid off in 1 year's time with the profits from the hotel. In 1 year, not only did he have no debt, but he probably had no competition, and even if he did, he would have had a huge competitive advantage over them since he had no debt. If we borrow against our silver to buy income-producing properties, theoretically, in 1 year's time, we would have all of our silver and debt-free income-producing property and no loss of investable assets. The best part about this is it's a very repeatable event. Now, before you get too excited about this idea, I have a much, much better idea that you're going to have to wait till the end of this presentation. But let me ask you a couple questions. Do you like where I'm going so far? Do you think that I've thought about this long and hard? Do you think that this is something achievable on a personal level? And do you think this information will dramatically change your life? And And before I show you all my cards of the ultimate exit strategy, we need three important things first. They are the same three things our American founding fathers needed when they created the American paradigm: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A unique way of looking at life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is life represents your past, liberty represents your present, and the pursuit of happiness represents your future. When you have the freedom in all these tenses in your life, you are on your way to becoming totally free. If you want to build a new free society, we need all these freedoms too, but also on a much larger scale. I have created a way to make this happen. So the first step is Project Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. This is all about building an intellectual foundation for a way forward, and more importantly, a strong community to protect these freedoms. I like the idea that we've been developing relationships based off of a shared idea of deep issues like freedom and honest money, and not just superficial issues because our kids go to the same school or that we are family. There is something truly special here. So if we look at our life or our past freedom, I believe that unless we know how the world really works, we are bound to repeat the same mistakes. I originally set about to do this with the Sons of Liberty Academy, and while I'm extremely happy about this project, and it is still without a question the best awakening program out there, there is much to improve upon. And I set about creating the greatest truth never told. It is a complete redo of the Academy. It will be more commercially acceptable. It will have a better name, a better structure, better content, better narrative, and better produced. Module 1 will be focused on denial, and it will be free for all to help spread these very important lessons and draw more people into a deeper understanding. This will be all displayed on a new YouTube channel that will break this down into individual chapters. Modules 2 through 5 will feature the last 4 stages of the awakening and will only be available on a new membership site. Eventually, I'll have audiobooks, digital books, and DVDs to follow. This is a huge project that will lay the foundation and understanding for a new paradigm that will let freedom thrive. Once you have an understanding, you need to do something with it. That's where this next step comes in, with liberty in our present life. Here you will need the know-how and the perspective to get your house in order. While I love doing strategy sessions and I've done hundreds of them, they are not the highest and best use of my time. I feel a much better way is through a new program called the Silver Shield Report. The Silver Shield Report will be a weekly webinar going over specific issues in the news and address all the needs of our members. The Silver Shield Report will offer unlimited email support only to those members of the report. This will help cut down on the hundreds of emails I get every day and better serve you on the most important issues shared by all. The Silver Shield Report will also have frequent guests to keep the discussion lively and diverse. We will also have new thought-provoking exclusive content that will not be available to the public. In fact, the only content that I'm going to furnish to the public are articles like 10 Reasons Why, or teaser videos that will help draw people to new ideas. I have realized that talking to people about deep issues that are still in denial is not the highest and best use of my time. The Silver Shield Report is a must for anyone who wants to stay ahead of the curve and develop leaderless resistance in their part of the world. The final step is Pursuit of Happiness, and this is going to be in a new group called the Maverick Mastermind. Let me just say that this is not for everybody and is for serious investors only, but is one that I am most excited about. This roundtable discussion will be moderated by me personally twice a month. Here we will develop the relationships and work at the highest possible level, taking the most positive and dramatic actions both now and in the new paradigm. The discussion will mainly be focused on building business opportunities now and the future, so that we have a strong financial foundation to help further our cause. My expertise in running multiple businesses, both in the real world and online, coupled with my unique insight into the future, provides an invaluable resource to those who would like to take their business to the next level or simply stay ahead of the curve. My hope is that this develops into a trusted circle that we can really count on when we progress. The Maverick Mastermind will be application only to ensure the highest quality discussions possible. So with all this in mind, let's see what we've built here over the last couple months. The first step really is for people in denial, and that's what Don't Tread on Me did. It was an active blog that put out new ideas of freedom and attracted people to our cause, and it was best to wake people up with. The next program was the Sons of Liberty Academy. This was a program that took the anger and replaced it with education. It was a formalized awakening program, and it was a completely free educational program designed to establish an intellectual foundation for a new free paradigm. It was for those that were curious but without the commitment. The Greatest Truth Never Told was designed for people who were going through the bargaining phase, serious researchers who wanted to support the cause. The Silver Shield Report is designed for people stuck in the depression phase of the awakening. People can only get out of the depression phase if they have absolute clarity of where they're going and they feel that they have the support of a community that sees the world the way that they do. We will have weekly webinars and unlimited email support to help guide you through this process. It is the best format to help the most amount of people to become aware and prepared for the next paradigm. The final program is the Maverick Mastermind, and this is for people who are in the acceptance stage, people who are looking to positively move forward to prepare for a new paradigm that they're almost looking forward to. This bi-weekly mastermind group will be led by me and will be small groups that will talk on the highest level. It's an exclusive application-only program designed for the serious investor who wants to work on the highest level of thought and action. And now for what I'm sure you've all been waiting for, the ultimate exit strategy. So the goal has been to leverage our tangible wealth into the next monetary paradigm. I first want to say that while I'm confident that things will turn out the way that I foresee, I am not tied down to any philosophy. I've always been able to go with the flow. So I already showed you one of the best ways to capitalize on what is to come by not simply selling your silver and buying incredibly cheap income-producing properties. The better way is to avoid the taxable event, borrow against your silver, and to buy income-producing properties and have that asset pay off your loan on the silver. It is a better way to deploy more capital, and at the end of the day, you have two assets with no debt. This is also a very repeatable process. This is also in the spirit of leaderless resistance and can be done by anybody when the time is right. But what if instead of being the borrower on these assets, we were also the lender? But what if we set about creating a truly new paradigm or a community that truly resonated with who we are? And instead of lending using debt, fractional reserve banking, and usury, we lent as equity partners? What if instead of lending for income-producing properties, we were the investors in the next generation of technology and companies that resonated with our vision of the new paradigm? Companies and people who would advance humanity and not enslave it. What if we could fund an educational program that would be a beacon of hope throughout the world? What if we could all become neighbors and partners instead of just going it alone? If these ideas are something that resonate with you, you are going to love what I've been working on. And now for something truly unique, and it is by far the most forward-thinking plan I've ever had. You all should know by now the real value of silver is magnitudes more than the paper price today. I have said that simply having 1,000 ounces of silver represents 10,000 days of hard human labor. From the earliest days of the Roman Empire, Roman soldiers were paid 1 denarius for each day of service, which was the equivalent of 1/10 of an ounce of silver. Factory workers were paid a dime for a day's work at the turn of the century. Even 2/3 of the world today, where debt money is not available, people live off of $2 a day, which is less than 1/10 of an ounce of silver. The ability for average people like you and me to be able to accumulate that amount of wealth is historically significant, and I know many of you have multiples of that, even that benchmark. Whether you realize it or not, we are going to have a network of extremely wealthy and, more importantly, honest and thoughtful people who did the hard intellectual work to invest in silver before the collapse. The Silver Shield Report, and more importantly, the Maverick Mastermind, is designed to leverage our individual power into something much greater. How awesome would it be to have a couple thousand silver owners who resonate with each other on a personal level to be able to partner with each other and help shape a new paradigm? This ultimate exit strategy seeks to leverage not only the wealth that we have, but the unique talents and the abilities that we have in this network. The ultimate exit strategy is to eventually create a bank with the silver that we have. In this next paradigm, silver will be money on some level or another, somewhere in the United States. Look at the 13 states that are already pushing for legal tender laws for gold and silver. And with the massive decentralization of power, I am confident that states will assert their natural rights to nullify any federal laws that would prohibit them from taking control over their local power.